Chloe, let's not fool ourselves, Dave said, his words sharp. Passengers want to feel secure with whoever's in charge, and seeing a woman in that role doesn't exactly reassure them, does it? His words landed like a gut punch. He leaned back, arms folded across his chest, as if he'd just delivered some absolute truth. Around the table, a few of the men exchanged knowing glances. Amused. Others just indifferent. My chest burned, but I kept my hands still, folded neatly in my lap. I refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing me flinch. My name is Chloe Rivers. I've been a pilot for 25 years. I'm 43, divorced, and the sky has been my entire world since I was a teenager. Flying was always my escape, my freedom. But in aviation, freedom only takes you so far. No matter how many hours you fly or how perfect your record is, people like Dave still see you as a risk, a problem. The day the promotion I'd poured my heart into went to someone who'd barely earned his wings, something inside me shifted. The very first time I stepped into a cockpit, I was 9. My dad, who worked as a mechanic at the local airfield, had taken me. "Chloe, you've got to see this," he said, opening the door of a shiny Cessna with pride gleaming in his eyes. I climbed into the pilot's seat, my hands trembling as they touched the controls. "Think you could fly one of these someday?" he asked, leaning on the doorframe. "Are you kidding? I could fly it right now," I replied, trying to sound bold despite the awe in my voice. He laughed and ruffled my hair. "Big dreams, Chloe. Don't let anyone tell you they're too big." His words stuck with me, especially when my mom gently tried to nudge me towards something more practical. By the time I turned 16, I'd saved every cent I made from babysitting and part-time jobs for flight lessons. When I finally told my dad, he put down his coffee and looked me in the eye, serious as ever. "So, you're really going through with this?" he asked. "Absolutely," I answered, heart pounding. "It won't be easy, Chloe. They'll make you work twice as hard because you're a girl. Are you ready for that?" "I'm ready," I said without blinking. He nodded, just slightly. That was all I needed, Dot. My mom wasn't thrilled, but didn't stop me either. "Just remember, flying isn't everything," she would often say, worried I was dreaming too high. Years later, after serving in the Air Force and logging thousands of commercial flights, I thought I'd finally reached a point where I didn't have to constantly prove myself. So when the chief pilot position opened, I was certain it was mine. My record was spotless, my experience unmatched. Then Dave leaned back during that meeting and smirked. "Passengers want to feel safe," he repeated, tone dripping with smugness. "And a woman in charge? That's a tough sell." The word stung, just like the first time. My dad's voice echoed in my head. "They'll make you work twice as hard." I had worked 10 times as hard, and still, it wasn't enough. That meeting was the final straw, but it wasn't the first time. Throughout my Air Force days, my commanding officer always gave me the toughest assignments, supposedly to prove I belonged. But no matter how flawlessly I executed, the promotions always landed in someone else's lap. Transitioning to commercial aviation didn't change much. The remarks became more subtle, but no less cutting. They were constant reminders I wasn't what most people pictured when they imagined a pilot. Still, I kept pushing. Every flight I commanded felt like a chance to prove them wrong. And for a while, that was enough. My dad was my biggest supporter. After every milestone, he'd call and say, "Another glass ceiling smashed, Chloe." You could hear the pride in his voice. But when I told him I was passed over for chief pilot, his voice fell. "That's not right, Chloe. You've given them everything. And what are they giving you in return?" "Nothing, Dad," I replied quietly. "They're giving me nothing." "Then maybe it's time to stop playing by their rules," he said. And something about that stuck. For the first time, I started to wonder if I'd wasted too many years trying to prove myself in a system never built to let me win. That night, I sat at my kitchen table staring at my flight log over 20,000 hours in the sky, countless long-haul flights. Emergencies handled, panic calmed, storms flown through. And what did I have to show for it? A ceiling I couldn't break and a career they refused to take seriously because I wasn't a man. I called my dad. "Hey, Chloe, what's going on?" He asked, his voice steady as ever. "I'm done, Dad," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm quitting. I can't do this anymore." There was a pause. "Maybe it's about time," he finally said. "You've played by their rules long enough. Maybe now it's time to write your own." That planted the seed. I couldn't shake his words for days. By the end of the week, I knew what I had to do. If they wouldn't create space for women in leadership, then I would. That's when the idea for a women-only flight school was born. It sounded crazy at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it made perfect sense. I didn't want to just leave the air. Wanted to change the entire industry. The first challenge was funding. Planes, a hangar, instructors, it all added up quickly. I had some savings, but not nearly enough. My mom called after I told her my idea. "Are you sure, Chloe? Starting a business isn't like taking off in a plane. You can't just set it to autopilot." "I know, Mom," I said, pacing, "but I can't keep slamming into a wall that was never meant to break. If I don't do this, who will?" She sighed. "You've always been stubborn. Just promise me you'll have a backup plan." "I promise," I said. Even though I knew I didn't, my next call was to Laura Delgado, my old flight instructor, one of the few people in aviation who had always believed in me. I told her everything. "Chloe, this is brilliant," she said without hesitation. "The industry needs this. Let me help." With Laura on board, things started rolling. We spent late nights sketching ideas, researching locations, figuring out how to find students. It wasn't glamorous, but for the first time in years, it felt like I was building something that mattered. It wasn't just about teaching women how to fly. It was about giving them the strength to survive in an industry that tried to tear them down. "I don't just want to train pilots," I told Laura one day over coffee. "I want to train leaders." We wrote our mission statement right then. "It's got to be more than aviation," I said, scribbling into my notebook. "We teach them how to push back when someone says they're not enough." Laura grinned. "And we bring in guest speakers, women who've broken barriers, show them what's possible. And scholarships," I added quickly. "We'll make it accessible." Laura leaned back, smiling. "You're not just building a school, Chloe. You're building a movement."